Just now realizing you guys have been here this whole time. Give me 1 second, you guys. I'm not ready. You guys have just been watching me. Good thing I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to be doing. Anyways, we're just going to have to go with that thumbnail. It is what it is. Who cares? All right. Hello, guys. Welcome to She Knows Arsenal for Arsenal. Let's do this. Hold on. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to She Knows Arsenal. We're doing the live player ratings for Arsenal 3, Burnley 1. A game full of more excitement than I actually wanted this morning. I hope all of you guys are doing well. I hope all of you guys are having a great weekend. Obviously, Spurs lost earlier today, so all we needed to do was win. So we're getting into it. So make sure you guys are in the chat letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. I'm just going to send out a quick link because, yeah, I waited until the 85th minute to start doing all this stuff. And as usual, everything went against me. And so now I'm freaking out. All right, so live now. We have loads to talk about because that game for me was so much more exciting than it needed to be. I knew when we got Michael Oliver as well that there was a reason why we got Michael Oliver. There's no reason for the best ref in the Premier League to referee Arsenal versus Burnley. There's just none, especially with Manchester City playing Chelsea tomorrow. So don't let it go over your head, people. Don't let it go over your head. They 100% gave us him like, oh, we're going to give you the best ref that we have. We're going to give you the best ref that we have, only for him to, I feel like, not be that good on the day. Okay. So let's see who's all in here. Seawalder says, yo, hello to you as well. Crispy says, what's up? Aman says, big up, Jess. Big up to you as well. Seawalder says, you're live. Yep, I was live and you guys were watching me and it was just like crazy. Aman says, you are live. Yep. Jacob says, go Rice. Samuel says, your eyes look very tired. Well, thank you, Samuel. Yes. I mean, well, this is what people look like when they don't have on makeup. They just look normal. You know what I mean? So like, this is a normal human face when you first like get up out of the bed. And so I wash my face and brush my teeth, but that's it, you know, because what time is it? It's 9 o'clock in the morning and allow it. John Donut says, hey, Jess, hello to you as well. Jordan Hill says, hello. MD Agency says, I love White, but this team is better with Tommy in the team. We're going to talk about that as well. Here to there says, Trossard, man of the match, 2 more set piece goals. Definitely going to talk about that. Aman says, international break came at the right time. You guys, if you've been watching my shows, I've been saying, everybody stay home because the international break, we need it and we need it bad. Like so many players missing, so many players with knocks. Now players with suspension as well. It's a lot. So Burnley, I expected a game where we would have the majority of the possession, the majority of the chances, and to be completely dominant because Burnley are not a very good side. They've lost so many games. I think this is their 5th loss in a row. And so I expected us to be dominant. But what I didn't expect was I feel it was kind of expected in a way for us to kind of we don't look disjointed. We just look slow on the ball, ponderous. You know, we're not going after teams the way that we did before. Like, remember last season when we used to go out there first 15 minutes, score a goal or 2, and boom, the game was over? It feels like we're starting off a lot slower or passing a lot slower. And it took us a while to break them down. Now, they were in a deep block, and when you're up against a really deep block of 4-4-2, it is going to take you time to figure out how to unlock them, and set pieces are always going to be a big part of that. I do think that's why we have a heavy emphasis on set pieces, because we know we're going to be dealing with a lot of deep blocks, and when you do your set pieces, you're able to draw them out and move them around in ways that you can't when they're set in their system. That being said, Arsenal are still finding it, I think, difficult to find spaces through the middle. I think Arteta's making a big point of going around the outsides, but our wingers are being marked 2-3 players at a time in the Premier League. So it was like, okay, we are going to struggle to break them down, but eventually we will break them down. And we did with Leandro Trossard with a really brave goal where he goes up against Trafford and puts the ball in the back of the net. Thank God his arm is not broken or anything like that. It's probably just going to be a little bit of a bruise. But that's the sixth goal for Leandro Trossard this season, all assisted by Bukayo Saka. And for a player that doesn't play very often, and for people who have been calling him a super sub, a goal and assist today. Trossard is not a super sub, you guys. He is more than that. He is one of our best, like, under the radar signings. He's value for money, the amount of goals and assists that we get consistently for him. And there was a lot of like overreaction about that one half against Fulham where people decided he could not play center forward. We look a lot better with him at center forward than Eddie. And that's not to say that Eddie is not a decent player. He does his job the way that he does it. But I'm so glad that Trossard got 2 games in a row to show his quality, because that's a goal against Sevilla and a goal and assist against Burnley. And if we continue to play him in Jesus's absence, he will continue to score goals because that's what he does. Now, one thing that did stand out to me today is that we need Odegaard. And I'm not that's like, obviously we need Odegaard, but there literally isn't anybody in our team that offers the level of creativity that he does. It's really funny that before he got injured, people were saying that Odegaard is not a creative player. Well, this is what life without Odegaard is like, you guys. It's not fun. I don't think Havertz really shone today. He wasn't. I do think people watch the games with a different lens sometimes. Like they listen to commentary and they look at Twitter, and those two things kind of like taint their vision of the game. Havertz has never really played poorly for us. Like he's never been, except for like maybe his first couple of games, like he's been kind of like the same all the time. He's like on the edges of doing really good things, but the execution isn't quite there. The timing isn't quite there. And so there's always like a nearly moment, but we never get the final thing. You know, like against Sevilla, he had that one chance where if it just goes like an inch to the right, it's in the back of the net. Today, I felt like it was quite similar. He had one really good shot. He had a header that went over the bar. Like he's such a nearly edging type of player. And so I didn't watch with the same lens as other people where they felt like he was atrocious. That being said, in the four-ish games that he's played at right center mid, he's looked more comfortable, but he hasn't looked dangerous, creative, anything since he's been in that position. Vieira comes on, a nightmare of a cameo for him, red card. I mean, this is another player that started off looking kind of good against Fulham, played a game against Everton, looked all right, started against Spurs, got hooked at halftime, and we haven't seen him since. And now we see him again, and boom, red card. And Emile Smith-Rowe is always injured. So we have 3 number 10s or 3 players that we can play in the 8 position that are either are inconsistent for their own reasons. Kai Havertz, confidence, Vieira, who knows, ESR, injuries. And so Arsenal, the midfield situation for me is just still like, do we not have another creative player in this team? Is it literally just Odegaard? Can nobody else really impose themselves on a match? And I know that you have to have consistent minutes. And that's why sometimes, like for Fabio Vieira in particular, I don't necessarily get onto him as much as other people. But Havertz has played 4 games in a row. And I was just hoping that we'd see a little bit more. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't horrendous, but he didn't really offer enough. I just want Odegaard fit. But we're seeing what life is like without Odegaard. So if Odegaard is out, we're in trouble. You know, we're not going to create anything. So it's something that I feel like Arsenal need to figure out is the midfield 100%. Because I also was disappointed that Jorginho started. You guys know I'm when I think it's a Jorginho game, I'll say it. But against Burnley, we shouldn't have had to have 2 DMs, I don't think. It was fine. We won the game. But I just felt as though, like, do we need Jorginho out there? Could we have not have started with Vieira and Havertz? But, you know, Arteta's very wedded to this Zinchenko, Jorginho double pivot nonsense. It stinks to me, but, you know, it is what it is. And we scored off of 2 set pieces. You know, I think we are the set piece team. We really are. Like, we score more on corners than anybody else. And so you guys will let me know whether or not you think that's a really good thing, that we figured out other ways to score when we're not really creating a lot from open play, or is it more of like a negative thing where it's like you can only really score off of set pieces? You guys will let me know that. But all in all, Arsenal get the 3 points. That's all that really matters. We go above Spurs in the table. Nature is healing. And we go into the international break hoping that some of our main guys come back. We need Jesus back. We need Odegaard back. White also was missing today. Going to need him back as well. So we got some major players out that I'm hoping come back after international break. Tomic says Jorginho is class. M&D agency says, I'm just happy we were able to win without Odegaard, but we need Odegaard badly. And that's the thing, is you always expect there to be some level of drop off. Like, I think the idea that there's ever going to be a chance where there's zero drop off from your starters to your next level players, I think is crazy. Like, most teams in Europe, besides Manchester City, who we know are playing in a different sandbox than we are financially, you're going to have some level of drop off. But right now, we can't do the same things. So yes, we're winning without having some of our best players available. No Partey, no Jesus, no Odegaard. Like, that's great from an Arsenal perspective to have so many players out and to still be able to play and win. But as we saw against Newcastle, if we have to play some of the better teams without some of our better players, we're toothless. We're so toothless. And so it's good that we're winning without our better players, but it's definitely an underlying issue where it's like, damn, where's the creativity coming from? CE says a good team always finds a way to win, set piece or not. I like that. Yaha says, Yaya says Havertz played fine. Wingers aren't looking for him. He needs proper linkage with Saka and Martinelli. They need to look for him more. He's popping up in attacking areas but not receiving the ball. I don't think that Havertz was as atrocious as people are saying. I just think when you buy a player like Havertz, from where he came from, how we saw him perform in England, the amount of money that we spent on him, and the positions that he's being asked to occupy that don't necessarily suit him, until he starts scoring consistently and looking a threat, people are always going to, because nobody's gonna pull you up on it. There are certain players in our team that if you slander them and say they were the reason or they're horrendous or whatever, it gets hella retweets, it gets hella likes on it. Nobody will pull you up on it. No one. We have several players in the fan in our team that you can do that with. Zinchenko is one of them. Eddie is one of them. Jorginho is one of them, and Havertz also, and Odegaard has also gotten into that category where you can pretty much say anything about Odegaard and people will accept it and retweet it and not pull you up on it. So, but it's hard to, when Havertz is not really repaying the managers, I think, faith, and not getting to that extra level, it's hard to sit there and argue against people who are just going to say, we paid 65 million for this guy. You see what I'm saying? So it's not a hill that I'm willing to die on, because I didn't really want Havertz. So it's not my hill to die on. I got other hills I'm dying on right now, child. So I don't have time for that. But I do think that even if Havertz is playing fine, everybody will just say it's horrendous and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have to buy him. So yeah. Leslie says Jesus back after international. We need him bad. Nabil says it boggles the mind how Arteta didn't play Trossard instead of playing Eddie. It made no sense. It never did to me. I think people made excuses for it or tried to back it in some way that doesn't make sense. Like, at some stage, you just have to play the better player. And people tried to gaslight me into thinking that he never played well at center forward before, when there was a whole period last season where Eddie went flat, like he always does after he starts a couple of games and does okay. And Trossard comes in and gets goals and assists every single game. And Saka and Martinelli look normal. So Trossard center forward is the answer when Jesus is out. Arteta choosing to do this Eddie thing was something that he just did because he likes Eddie. I think he just likes Eddie because Eddie runs around and Eddie works hard in training. But sometimes you just have to choose the better player. Sometimes, if it's marginal between the good, like both players are good, but one works harder and has a better attitude, I can understand that. But the gulf in quality between Eddie and Trossard means that pretty much Trossard, even if he didn't train ever or sat down and didn't train hard, he probably should still start over Eddie. Like that's the gulf in quality that we're talking about. So I never really understood why he wasn't playing, but I knew as soon as he got a little run in the team, it would be very obvious that Arteta was just doing madness for no reason. Blaze says people give more excuses for Havertz, but they hate Raya. Raya was actually really good today, made a couple of really decent saves, was really good in possession as well. Like, again, if we just get off of his back, he'll probably play fine. I think the Raya stuff was totally overblown and mostly due to an emotional attachment towards Ramsdale. Brett Brown says it was a good game. We played with weakness. Arteta's getting this team winning, even when we don't play well. We still don't look weak. This team is missing so much, and yes, we are tied first. And I agree with you. I think that there's two ways of analyzing Arsenal. I think there's people that heavily focus on the things that we're not doing and we're not doing well enough. And then there's people that only focus on what we are doing well. We know that if you're only focused on what we're not doing well, you'll focus on the fact that we're not creating enough chances from open play. You'll focus on Havertz. You'll focus on no center forward. You'll focus on those things. You'll focus on not having Thomas Partey to help us play through the middle. That's what you'll focus on. If you focus on the good in what we're doing, you'll focus on the table, where we're sitting in the table, the fact that we have so many players that are missing. You'll focus on, the fact that we are scoring goals no matter how the goals are coming about. The fact that we're playing in multiple competitions, we're playing in the Champions League and we're still winning. So there's two ways to analyze Arsenal. For me, I try to analyze both. Like I try to put it all together, the clear picture that I am not going to sit here and rage because we won. And look where we're sitting in the table, and those things do matter. The results actually really matter more than anything else. But we do have other issues underlying that if they're not sorted out, will eventually catch up to us or keep us from doing what we want to do. And so I think people have a very difficult time marrying the two and creating a clear picture, and their agendas make them focus on one thing rather than the other instead of the clear picture. DJ Polar says Zinni with the Daniel LaRusso. That was an excellent finish from Zinchenko. I'm so happy for him. I know that he's been heavily criticized, and I get why, because, he's not great defensively. And so those are the things that stick out in your mind. But Zinchenko is a very useful player in certain circumstances. And if he's used properly, you'll get the best out of him. That was just a really, really good finish. He's a quality technician. And so I'm really happy that he got that goal, another set piece goal. Very, very good finish for him. Leslie says Zinni should play midfield. I think he'd be great in midfield if he was given the chance. Philip says, hoping that Trossard drops into 8 once Jesus returns after international break. I mean, it would be nice to see. I think it would be a shame if Jesus came back and then Trossard just dropped to the bench when we see the issues that we have in our 8 positions right now. I don't necessarily feel like Jorginho plus Rice is always the answer for every single game. Maybe in the bigger matches, that is the better option. But in games against Burnley, Sheffield, these types of games, I do feel like you probably want to get better technicians out there, more creativity out there. And one of our most creative players is Trossard. Odegaard's a very creative player. Trossard's very creative. And you have Zinchenko that's creative in a different way. He's creative in the way that he can punch the ball forward. He sees different passes than other people. He doesn't always do the obvious thing. And he's more creative from deep. So yeah, Arteta has some different options that he could explore after the international break. But if I know Arteta, he's going to continue to play Havertz plus Odegaard plus Rice. And if he doesn't want to use that, he's going to play Odegaard plus Rice plus Jorginho. That seems like the two options that he is going for most consistently are those two. And so I expect to see those after the international break. Zitch says Arsenal have not been perfect, yet still doing relatively well, relatively speaking, but fans will always find something to complain about. I will never say that you shouldn't criticize things that you're seeing or analyze things wholly. The result is the most important thing, but you still if all we do is every time we win, we just say everything is great, I think we're also kidding ourselves. So again, it's about finding that balance. Today, we won with so many players out. We responded well after conceding, and we just got the business done when we needed to get it done. We also went down to 10 men. And so, we didn't play a high line and get effed up, So there's a lot of positive there I think you can take from this game for sure. Despite there being some other things that we probably want to talk about. Mitchell says we need a fit Odegaard after international break. I agree. Monk says I'm really hoping we go up a gear after January. I think there is definitely room to do that with a fully fit squad. I don't think we have the capacity to go up to another level unless Martinelli and Saka are fit, Jesus is available, Odegaard is available, and probably even Thomas Partey. I don't think we have the capacity. I just don't think the players that we have the ability to play much better than they're playing right now. Like, I don't think there's another level for Jorginho to go to. Does that make sense? I don't think right now with Havertz's confidence, unless he completely does there's not really another level that I see. So the level raising for Arsenal is going to be those key players coming back into the team and playing with each other consistently and being fully fit. That's where the next level is going to come from. And we really need to hit that level. I don't even think we need to hit that level after this international break. I think we need to hit that level in January, February. That's where we kind of need to hit that level. But naturally, getting Odegaard and Jesus back in the team is going to change things. And I would love to see Arteta just try Trossard at left 8 just once. ESR is not ready. Vieira is going to be suspended. And Havertz hasn't really set the world alight, and he's not as comfortable at left center mid. So I'd be disappointed to just see Havertz go right back to left center mid, and for us to do that again. Try Trossard. It's almost like you were so desperate. You're so desperate to keep Trossard out the team playing center forward, then he plays and he does good. Just fall on your sword, man, and just put him at left center mid and let's try it. Can't be any worse than what we've seen, you know? Zich says, can you imagine the Arsenal of last season without Odegaard, Partey, Rice, and Jesus? No, I don't want to. I don't want to. And that's another thing that I was saying to a friend as well, is that I don't think people understand how lucky we got with injuries last season. And let me explain why. People will say that they only focus on the last couple of months where we didn't have Saliba and Tomiyasu. That was very unlucky. But from before that, y'all, we were playing damn near our best 11. Eddie and Trossard took over and we played really well. We're never going to get that level of luck again, ever. We're never going to have a 7-8 month period where we only have one major injury. It's not going to happen. So Arsenal need to learn how to deal with bullshit. They need to learn how to deal with bad refereeing calls, not having your best 11, having major injuries, playing in different positions. They need to just learn how to deal with it, and playing multiple games a week. This is a growing step for this team. And so last season was kind of like an anomaly. Now that the way that the schedule is set up and the way that players are playing so many games, this is what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a rotating carousel of this guy out, this guy in, this guy in, this guy out. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't hold my breath on this thing that's going to happen where everybody's going to be fit. I don't think it's going to happen this season. And I don't think it's going to happen for any teams, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, Dale says, pleased overall, but beat Man City. Defense is on pace for low 30 goal conceded, both non-negotiables to win this season. But if we don't start scoring way more goals from open play, we won't win the league. Dale, that's probably the best summary of where we are right now. Everybody is probably relatively pleased, all things considered. And the way that our defense is defending is I'm actually so devastated that we didn't get that clean sheet. I mean, I've been enjoying this clean sheet life, and I'm so sad that we didn't keep it. That being said, we're not conceding anywhere near as many goals or chances as we were before, but not creating from open play. I think a lot of it has to do with our inability to access those central areas. And when you saw today, we probably had we had barely any like touches in zone 14, right in front of the little D in front of the box. Like we don't touch that area. We don't create in that area. And I think I saw, I think this is like the main issue here is when teams press upon you and they decide that they want to flood central areas. We don't have the type of player that you can pass it into their feet and wiggle away from pressure. We don't have anybody press resistant. And Zinchenko got the ball from Saliba one time in a crowded area centrally and lost the ball. And so what I think Arteta is doing is he's trying to avoid those areas because he knows he doesn't have those players available to him. The only player that we really have that's missing that can do those things, two really, no one really, and that's Thomas Partey, I think, is the only one that you could they got to the point with Thomas Partey where he would receive the ball under pressure, and because he would just leave them in the dust, they just stop pressing him altogether. But teams know that if we play Jorginho and play Zinchenko, that they can press on us, and that's going to limit us to going to the outside. And Arsenal going on the outsides is a lot less dangerous than central areas. And because our crossing is abysmal and we don't necessarily have an aerial threat, unless Trossard just throws his body out there and takes one for the team, we're limited, so something has to change there. And that's why I think Arsenal definitely need to take their asses into that market and get a midfielder, period. Patrick says Gabriel should have a penalty. We were never getting a penalty in this game. Jean Kelly says we need Odegaard and Partey to actually break the lines. We don't play from the middle anymore. I agree. Errol says no Ramsdale again. Why Jess feels sorry for Ramsdale. Jess gutted for him. Did anybody think Ramsdale was going to play today? I didn't. And I don't think that Raya did anything where this is a Ramsdale conversation, to be honest. I think Raya justified his start today. And Ramsdale is the cup keeper. And it's unfortunate because we're only in the FA Cup now. And so that's probably the next time you're going to see Ramsdale unless something happens to Raya. Samuel says we need a midfielder more than a striker. People are coming around to the truth. Blaze says we lost Gabriel Jesus for 3 months last season. Jess, I said that. But again, you guys are not hearing me. Like, as much as we want to act like losing Gabriel Jesus was the end of the world, was it for us? It wasn't. We were able to put Eddie in there. Our other players were in such good form and played with each other so often that it didn't matter. We still had like first choice back line, first choice midfield, and Saka and Martinelli. So even losing Jesus was not an injury crisis. We never went through an injury crisis at all last season until we got to the very end. And that was lucky. That was very lucky considering what you saw happen at other clubs. So, losing Gabriel Jesus is nothing like what we're seeing now. And what we're seeing now is more analogous to what everybody was going through last season and what we're going to see moving forward, because these players are playing way too many games. They're playing way too many games. So we were nowhere near an injury crisis of this level at any point last season until we got to Saliba and Tomiyasu getting injured. And again, like when you have a fit and firing Saka, fit and firing Martinelli, fit and firing Odegaard, you have Xhaka and Partey behind them and a fully fit back line, you can float an Eddie in your team. You can. It works. Kasim said Trossard is a bit like Aguero when he played for City. I love Trossard so much. Blaze says Ramsdale will start versus Brentford next game because Raya can't play against Brentford. Fair enough. Leslie says Timber back soon, we hope. Hopefully. So let's go ahead and get into some player ratings. Make sure you guys, there's 300 of you guys in here. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for being okay with like the whole setup. I know this is not like the normal setup, but your girl is on the road, so we got to do what we got to do. Okay. And I wasn't going to leave you guys hanging at all because you guys are my people. Let's see. Let's start off with David Raya. Thought he had a really good game today. Didn't have like a lot to do, but he did have saves this time and he made them. And, people are like, he doesn't make any saves. So how can we rate him? He don't make that save. He made a save today, child. And that save was a really good one. So I thought he had a really good game. I think he can't really do anything for the goal. You guys will let me know if you think he should do better. But I think all in all, a really good game, and unfortunate not to get a clean sheet in this game. I'm just going to make you my poll as well. I can't even think of who can be the man of the match other than Trossard, really. So we'll just add a couple in here. We know it's going to be Trossard, don't we? Okay, so yeah, I'm going to give Raya, I'm going to give him like no, it feels too high. I'm going to give him a 7.5 because he just didn't get the clean sheet, but I don't really think it's on him. I don't think it's really his fault. Elliot Roberts says, Raya 7, the goal is not his fault. I don't think so either. Samuel says, unlucky for the deflected goal, but he gets a 7. I agree with that. Jacob says, Trossard or Zinchenko, man of the match. Oh, I should have put Zinchenko in there, huh? No, I'm not going to put him in there. It's fine. Andrew says, Raya 7. Here to there says, Raya, nice save in the first half, 7. I agree. Nabil says a 7. Stitch says a 7. Jacob says 8. Let's see. Jacob says Raya will play Brentford, allow Arsenal to be able to play against them. I remember in the Cup they allowed it. So I don't know if the rules are different in the Premier League. Yeah, Raya I thought is getting a 7. I thought he was really good today, and I'm just happy for 2 games running we don't have to have Raya Ramsdale conversations because that was just getting to be so boring. Saliba made one mistake. He's human, isn't he? Made one mistake for that Raya save. That was really good. Otherwise, he was back there Joga Bonito the entire game, just doing tricks. And our biggest flair player is William Saliba. But Saliba also scored a really good goal. I think our first center back header goal, because Gabriel hasn't had one this season yet, right? Yeah, our first center back booming header goal from Saliba. And I love the response because obviously we started to get a little shaky as fans, a little bit shaky when they scored that goal. And so that response was quick. It was, it was on it. And so I thought beyond that one mistake that he made where Raya had to save it, I thought Saliba was Saliba, so it's like, what else can you say about him? He's just a fantastic player. And we're really lucky to have him. I'm going to give him 8.5. It's becoming, I think he had to make the mistake to show us that he's human, Monk says 8. Jacob says 8.5. Andrew says Saliba 7. Martin N says 8 for Saliba. Here to there says Saliba 8. John Donut says Saliba 8. Nabil says made a mistake, but he made up for it with a goal. 8, exactly. Kind of made up for it. Samuel says man of the match for me, 8.5. Elliot Roberts says Saliba 8, best young defender in Europe. Zich says 8. That pin, perfect sliding tackle, and nice set piece goal. Yeah, I said in my preview that if there's going to be a player for Burnley that hurt us, it was going to be Koleosho. And it ended up being the truth because he ends up being the player that does Tommy. It was a weird one. We'll talk about that in a second, how he got beyond Tommy. I don't think it's a foul. But yeah, Koleosho gets kind of beyond us on that side. We were asleep in the first minute of the second half, and that could have easily been a goal if Saliba doesn't get his toe to it. So I'd forgotten about that. Saliba was really good today. Hugo says 8. Blaze says Saliba 8. C. Walder says was on a stream yesterday when somebody was saying that who's Robert is better than Saliba. Wow. Romero. Are we still talking about Romero after what happened against Chelsea? Romero is not just because you play for a really good national team and you win the World Cup doesn't mean that you instantly become world class, i.e. Alexis McAllister. Alexis McAllister and Enzo Fernandez were both in that Argentinian World Cup winning side. And because they won that competition, they won the World Cup, people decided that anybody who touched the pitch for Argentina was world class. Lisandro Martinez as well. That doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean anything. Mustafi won a World Cup. It doesn't mean anything. You had Messi. You were going to win that World Cup by hook or by crook. You were winning that World Cup. So Romero, just even Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez is really good for Argentina, but he is absolutely average for Aston Villa. So just because you were in that team doesn't mean anything. Romero on a consistent basis for Tottenham is a walking nightmare. He is a walking hazard sign and should get way more red cards than he ever gets. He almost got away with the ones that he did against Chelsea. And that's like a normal occurrence for him. Against Arsenal, if we weren't totally stupid, they would be thinking about him so differently because he would have single-handedly given us that win. Single-handedly. Romero is nowhere near Saliba. The only thing about Saliba is that he's breaking into the French national team, and they already have like a plethora of like insanely gifted defenders. And so he's going to have to break through that team, I think, in order to get the recognition that I feel like he deserves. But Romero is absolute shit. Like, I'm so sorry. Are we still having this conversation? Still about Romero? Be for real. Be for real. Monk says Van de Ven makes him look more confident or competent. C. Walder says insane, huh? We all had a massive laugh. I cannot. Leslie says Saliba cost 27 million, cheap as chips. Andrew says that was coming from a Spurs fan. They just need to be for real though. Like, even as an Arsenal fan, there are players in our side that I don't sit around saying Odegaard is better than Kevin De Bruyne. I don't sit around saying that. Like, just because it's our player doesn't mean we have to lie. Do you know what I'm saying? Everybody that's watching with their two like eyeballs can see that Saliba is clear of so many players. So many players. Like, we are beyond the young defender conversations with Saliba, in my opinion. I think we're putting up against the Virgil van Dijks, putting up against like these guys now. And all he really needs to do is wait his turn for the French national team. And once that happens in his prime, it's over for the game. It's over. It's over. Aman says, love Saliba's trademark tackles. I do as well. Yaya says, Romero is who people thought Xhaka was. Okay. They thought Xhaka was that guy. He was not that guy, okay? Neil says, apparently Romero's stats are better. When you're if you're a player that has to defend a lot more, your defensive stats are going to be better. What the reason why you have to watch our defense versus their defense, you have to watch with your eyes and use the eye test, is Romero defends more, so his stats are going to be better. When you watch Saliba in the one or two chances that the opposition has, he stops them from scoring. That's what he does. You know, so I still think 1v1, if I had to choose between Saliba or Romero, I'm going to choose Saliba because Saliba's not getting a red card and a penalty. He's not. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get the ball. Saliba, Saliba is clear. Saliba's so clear, that guy. I love him. I love him so much. Like, he's so good, and like, we're so blessed to have him. Because remember, Mustafi, be grateful. Be grateful, y'all. Okay, so let's move on. Gabriel, interesting one today. What did you guys think of his performance? I have one or two of these a game where I'm like, what do I feel? And sometimes I need you guys to give me a little bit of feedback on this one. I think it was like, okay, probably should have gotten a penalty. Maybe could have scored. Burnley didn't attack that much. I'm trying to think. You know, Gabriel was fine, right? You know, could I give him an 8 and you guys would feel like that's the right score? Or do you think there's something I'm missing here? From Gabby. Big Gabby. Tawanda says 7 for Gabriel. Blaze says Gabriel 7. Here to there says 7. Andrew says Gabriel did his job. Okay, 7. Jean Kelly says 7 is good. Okay. Yeah. Martin N says 8 for Gabriel. Samuel says, when is this Romero versus Saliba? It ain't even conversation, guys. Crazy. Salmon says, congratulations to the win, Jess. Thank you. I was out there kicking the ball. Did you see me on the pitch? I deserve all the credit for this win. Jacob says 7. So yeah, like, let's go 7.5. Like, I feel like when I rewatch it, I'm going to see some things and remember why I don't feel like I want to give him as high of a score as Saliba. But yeah, Gabriel was fine today. I think it's fair to say that. Zinchenko starts from the beginning this time and does okay, like scores a goal, does some decent stuff defensively. Like, his thing defensively is if he watches the ball, he can get it. But sometimes he switches off, and I think he switched off at the end of the game when we went down to 10 men one time. Other than that, I thought on the ball he was really good. I thought what we lacked in penetrative passes, he gave us some of that. He has some really nice passes, even on on the right hand side. I'm not sure how he got there, but he had a one really nice behind the leg Cruyff flick thingy that he did to Saka, and he scores a goal. I thought Zinni was really good today. He is what he is. I think he's been going through kind of like a difficult time, especially within the fan base, because again, he's somebody that you could say absolutely anything about right now, and nobody will pull you up on it. I don't think he's been anywhere near as diabolical as people have tried to make him seem. So I'm gonna give him an 8. Thought he was good. Thought he was good, and he's the player that. How do I explain? He's the player that I feel like needs to be used properly and in certain types of circumstances to get the best out of him. Um, and it's up to the manager to do that, and I don't think he always does that. And I think as a consequence, we start talking about him like a dog when we know he's a really good player. Jacob says he created Trossard goal and got the goal of his own. Nabil says, I think he's an 8. He was better defensively this game. Plus, the goal was great. 8. I should have put him on the man of the match thing, but I just went brain dead. As it said, 8 for Zinni. Martin N says, I still remember the back heel no look pass in the first half. It was so sick. I remember that. Neil Gunner says, Zinni is not an instigator. He backs up and sticks a leg out. That's kind of what happens when you have a number 10 as your left back. Aman says, Zinni was brilliant today. Leslie Montgomery says, Zinni 8. Jean Kelly says very high 8 from that finish. Andrew says Zinchenko 8.5, his best game for some time. Use Tommy in the games that is Tommy games. Use Zinchenko in the games that are Zinchenko games. It's a very simple formula. If there's ever a split in terms of we know what games are for somebody, this is the easiest one. Zinchenko at home, deep blocks. When we're going to have a lot of possession, that's his bag. In Europe or against really good teams in the Premier League away from home, Tommy. It's such an easy freaking formula. I just don't get why Arteta's not doing it. Or he's starting to do it now. Tulloch says 8 should be used as a midfielder. Dale says Zinni 8.5, my man of the match. Samuel says he played well today, 8. Philip says Zinchenko stats were great. 116 touches, 82 out of 94 passes, 5 tackles, 7 out of 8 ground duels, 7 out of 8 aerial duels, 7 out of 7 long balls, and 1 beautiful goal. Thing about Zinni is he's underrated aerially, but that's something he's always been pretty good at. And he had that one really good header intervention. I think we had went down to 10 men at that stage, and he got that cross out of there. Zinni, good player, just needs to be used in the right circumstances. And when he does, we tend to really like his game. Tommy, this is going to be an interesting one because I have probably an unpopular opinion here, but something let's start with the good. I thought Tommy was good. That's the thing. It's I thought Tommy was actually really good. I thought his crossfield passes were good. His defensive interventions and defensively, I thought he was really good as well. He had a good game, I thought, especially on the right where we know that's not his best. And he stepped in for Ben White very well. On the goal, I think he goes down soft. I don't really think that that's a foul. That Koleosho is not knocking Tomiyasu, 6'2" Tomiyasu down to the ground. It's not happening. And it's a perfectly good goal. And I did not think it should be called back. One of the things that I sense from our defenders quite often that annoys me is that in circumstances where I just feel like we should clear the ball or deal with it, we try to maybe win the foul, we go down a little soft, and then we're surprised when the foul is not given. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. And so I think Arsenal don't get those same fouls that other teams get because I feel like we have a little bit of a reputation in that regard, and I think Tommy should deal with it. He won the ball. He could have just kicked it out for a corner, but he kind of went down. Koleosho is little. He's not knocking you down, man. You got to just clear. You just have to clear it or figure it out. Tommy did everything right except for dealing with it, and so when they were even looking for the foul, I knew they wouldn't give it because it wasn't a foul. It was too soft, But other than that, I thought he had a really good game. I did. I thought he had a really good game. And I'm loving Tommy's influence on our team now and how he's having a greater importance. Like Trossard, he's one of our better squad players. You know, he's comfortable starting for Arsenal, which is really good because we have other positions where we don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of being able to, we don't have a Tommy in the midfield. We don't have a Trossard in the midfield. You know what I mean? And so I'm gonna give him a 7 today. You guys are probably killing me in the comments saying that it was a foul. I just don't think it was. I think he should have dealt with it. And I think some of our defenders go down soft and try to get fouls or, whatever, and we get done. And I don't like it. Samuel says, I think somebody's is gonna give up their place, whether it's White or Zenny. He's in good form for the couple of games. He gets an 8. Zahid says you can put Trossard in the midfield, though you can, but Arteta doesn't see him as an option. At least that's what we've seen so far from Mikel Arteta. So I'm not going to say that I feel like I feel like maybe he is an option there. He could be, but like we really don't have the same level of depth in midfield that we do defensively with Tommy and Trossard up front. Blaze says if Ben White was made this mistake, some Arsenal fans would slander him. We missed him today. Jean Kelly says Tommy is just not comfortable on the right side, but apart from that, he was a solid 7. Dust Trust says 6 for Tommy. Nabil says I agree, not just from Arsenal, but from a lot of teams. They go down like a fly. Anyway, aside from the fall, which he should have just done, he was good overall. I agree. I agree. You guys know what I'm saying. When I'm saying that we don't have a Trossard or a Tommy for midfield, like just think about what I'm actually saying. We don't have somebody that we can plug and play that we feel comfortable starting. That's not Rice. That's not Odegaard. Do you know what I mean? That's not Thomas Partey. I feel like that's very simple. Like despite the fact that Trossard can play there, just take that out. We don't have that. We don't have that. And so that's why Trossard and Tommy are so important to the team because you feel comfortable with them starting. We just don't have that in other positions. Dwayne says Tommy should have put the ball out for a corner. I agree. And John Donut says Tommy 6. Tawanda says Ben White wasn't missed today. I agree. I don't actually feel like I miss Ben that much. I don't. I think that Ben has been good this season. I think was kind of veering into the out of form section, and Tommy stepped in really well. I don't think, I didn't find myself feeling like, oh, I wish Tommy was there. So yeah, Neil says that I agree with. We don't have a natural 8. Exactly. So yeah, we all agree that we could probably put Trossard there, but in terms of what Arteta views as the options for midfield, we don't have a Trossard or a Tommy for those positions. OG says Tommy didn't have a good game. He was passing backwards, did the barest minimum, was passing forward to Saka, making him redundant. After shadowing an attacker, why not just kick the ball away? So you said he was just passing backwards, but you said he was passing the ball forward to Saka. So which one is it? Was he passing backwards or passing forwards? Sorry, Tommy was good today. Don't know what game you watched. T. Yep says, if you say Vieira is a flop, you don't understand football. He was just below average game, but he still made more impact than Havertz. We're going to talk about that. Andrew J says, by the way, congrats, Jess. I'm reaching 20K. Well-deserved. Keep it up. We're going to celebrate that on Monday. I got something cooking for y'all, but thank you guys so much. Yeah, I recorded a little video for you guys, and I could barely get through it because I was just like, oh, I love my people so much, so I can't wait to celebrate with you guys, but thank you so much. So yeah, let's see. Tommy, 7 for me. Just kick it out. Just kick it out, boo. Just kick it out. Jorginho, you guys have to let me know what you thought about that, about him as well. I think I was already disappointed that he was in the game, so it tainted my view of his game anyway, because I was like, I don't think we need Jorginho today. I think from what I did see, he was okay, circulating the ball, controlling the tempo. He was fine. Burnley are not a great side, and we're at home, so I expect him to be fine. I just would have wished that we went with a more creative option in the left 8 and allowed Declan Rice to play in the 6. But you guys will let me know what you thought about Jorginho's performance. I feel like it was one of those ones that for me are probably going to fall somewhere between probably around a 7. Somewhere around a 7. Let's see. Blaze says Jorginho 7.5. MD agencies to Tomiyasu is levels beyond white, to be honest. Samuel says the old man gets a 7. He was good. Matthew Lee says Jorginho won all of his duels today. Neil Gunner says Jorginho was 7, steady Eddie. And Talk says 7. I hope he is okay. Dostres says 6.5. Aman says wouldn't have started him today and would have gone with Rice in the 6 with 2 8s, but Jorginho was okay. That's kind of how I feel. I felt a 7. Can't really remember anything that he really did, but I don't feel like I was like, oh my gosh, you're awful. Andrew says Jorginho 7. Yeah, so I agree. We'll all go with a 7. Sounds good to me. I think this is the one where it's probably going to go left. There's 300 of you guys in here, so make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get into the chat and let me know what you thought about Havertz's performance, because prior to the game, when I did my preview, I was like, this is the game where you really need to impose yourself, because Odegaard will probably be ready to go after the international break, and you've had 4 games on the bounce in this right center mid position. And or maybe not, because against West Ham he didn't play in that position. He played in midfield, though. He played in midfield against West Ham. He played right center mid against Newcastle, right center mid against Sevilla, right center mid again today. And it's Burnley, it's at home, they're shit, score a goal. That's pretty much how I felt about it. And I don't think that he was atrocious. I don't think he was horrendous. I don't think he was the worst guy on the pitch. But I do think that it was another maybe forgettable game from Kai Havertz, and a couple of nearly moments, a couple of moments where we probably would have wanted him to do a little bit more or do a little bit better. And so, yeah, if we don't have Odegaard in the team, what do we do? Because right now we don't really have an option. He's not adding enough creativity. He's not imposing himself. He kind of always looks to pass backwards. Every time he gets the ball, he does this little circle and goes backwards. And it's like, I just want to see you go forward, go forward. He tries to get stuck in, win his duels, press, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is fine. But we're into November now. He started quite a few games. He's played a lot of minutes. And I feel like his performances have kind of just stayed relatively the same. They've went up a little bit, but nothing enough where I feel like it's going to get the fan base off of his back. I was telling a friend that until he has a game or he even looks remotely like he was at Leverkusen, or even like earlier days at Chelsea, like even Chelsea has gotten a better version of Kai Havertz than we have. If he doesn't start looking like that player, he's always going to be the scapegoat, which I don't love. But again, he's not a hill that I can die on right now. I got too many hills I'm dying on right now. So I'm not going to take him on as well. But it was just another kind of like forgettable game. He was hooked at the 60th minute. He was just there. He was just there. I feel bad a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, what can you do? 6. What can you do? Zich says 6, gets in good positions, but does not take his chances. It's like he's afraid to score or attack. It's like his confidence is still very low. He just needs to get a lucky break. Life of BOJ says can affect the game if you're to do anything in the box, if you're afraid to do anything in the box. Nabil says, waiting for his Goretzka physical transformation. On a serious note, he's been okay, nothing particular good or bad, but for 65 million, we could have done better with that money. Overall, he was a 6. I agree. Neil says there just isn't enough conviction in him. Can see he's 50-50. It's just safe. And I wonder like why that is, because it's just like you have a new lease on life. You've gotten a move that maybe that's the thing. It's like I was just about to say, he's gotten a move that he doesn't deserve. He's moved up in life. He's gone from Chelsea to Arsenal and has had, ample opportunity to start a new leaf. And he seems to have brought this same kind of like low confidence to Arsenal. And so until he decides that he wants to change shit for himself, it's just going to be this. But it said this, he's had nearly moments. That's, I want to make sure that I say that, like, there's nearly moments where he's getting into good positions, he's doing some of the right things. Maybe just the conviction is not there, or the end product is not there, you know, but at the same time, he's just going to continue to be the scapegoat until something comes off for him. He's been unlucky, but also he's not done enough, I think, in some games too. Joshua says Kai is just slow on the ball, but he has the technical ability. Just give him a 6 for today. I agree. Dale says maybe Havertz has imposter syndrome. This maybe is imposter syndrome. I mean, if you have a manager that, after seeing how you were at Chelsea for 3 seasons, brings you into a team that almost won the league and banks on you being one of the reasons why you take us, like, we go to the next level, but you don't feel like you're that guy, you probably do have a bit of imposter syndrome. And Arteta continuously shows faith in you above other players all the time, So, like, there's other players in the team that would have never gotten this amount of chances with the types of performances that he's put in. So, it's up to him. I think it's up to him to change the trajectory of, he's going to continue to get chances. I think, Arteta, when he really likes a player and he wants to make a point, he dies on that sword. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it's just up to him. He was a 6 today, not the worst thing on the planet, like people were saying, but definitely not anything to write home about, So, what can you do? What can you do? I'm waiting for the breakout game. I really, really am. I'm hoping for it and praying for it. Trusty baby, let's go. Let's go. You guys know how I feel about this guy. You guys know I rate him so highly. Thought that goal and assist. Brave goal. Goes in there like a striker, puts his head on the line, goes up against the goalkeeper, gets us ahead. Like I said, gets the assist for the Saliba goal off of the corner. Just, are you surprised? Are you shocked? Are you shocked? Because I am not. Give him a run of games and don't hook him after 45 freaking minutes, and he'll cook. He's a really, really good player, Trossard. A really good pickup that we got. No, he's not a 1v1 winger, and you shouldn't expect him to be, but get him in those central spaces, and baby, you got a player. You got a player. He was so good today. And thank God his arm is not broken. 9. Love him. Crispy says, best finisher at the club. I'm starting to think that that's the truth. I think you get him in the box, he's going to make the right decision. He also has the technical ability to finish with left and right. And so with a team that lacks clinical finishing, you might want to have a finisher on the pitch. Neil Gunner says 9. MD Agency says 9. If I'm Arteta, I would get Jesus back in the team and somebody loses form. Until someone loses form. Martin says, trusty. Tawanda says 10 out of 10. The Patriot Gunner says, Trossard, great corners, good goal, 9. Aman says 9, actually. Hitter there says, Trossard's tech and close control made all of the difference today. Breaking down a deep block with players with technical quality is just the only way to go about it. It's the only way to go about it. You can't, no offense to Eddie, but he runs the channels. He's somebody that has to do one touch, like kind of like 2 touch back to somebody. Like, he just doesn't deal well with not having a lot of space, but he has it, and he has creativity, and we just don't have enough creativity in the team not to be playing this guy. Can you imagine what today would have been like had we had Eddie up front instead of Trossard? We would have really struggled to break them down. So different strokes for different folks, and he's the right one for games like this. Omar says, reminds me of a version between Alexis Sanchez and Santi Cazorla. He's kind of like a 2008 through 2010 Arsenal player, a Hleb, a Rosicky type, a Santi Cazorla type. He's just a technician that can play in multiple positions and just falls under the category of creator. Like, you can put him in midfield or up top, but you just want him in spaces next to other creators to help unlock each other. The way people were talking about this guy was just like, I just was sitting back like, for real? Trossard? Come on now. Come on now. Virtue Virtus Revenge says the moment Trossard left Brighton, their ability to cut through defensive massively fell off. Aman says Teta is crazy for starting Nketiah over him. And Eddie is like, the thing is, like, Eddie is not a bad player. Like, I think we know what his level is, and he does a really good job for Arsenal in certain circumstances. I just think there's when we need somebody like this, the system is built around Gabriel Jesus, and we need somebody more similar to him. There's only one answer for it. And that's really what it comes down to for me. Neil Gunner says Trossard a schemer. Trini Gunner says Trossard is a natural replacement for Gabriel Jesus. Exactly. Samuel says he performed very well today, and Saka and Trossard link up worked. That injury, though, I think he's fine. I think Trossard is fine, but 6 goals, all assisted by Saka. The 1,000th goal at the Emirates has been scored by Trossard. Like, he's just a baller, man. I love him so much. Dos Trust says we should sell Eddie to Everton. I don't think Eddie wants to leave. Tawanda says Trossard excellent up front. Prove me wrong. Jacob says Trossard, a typical Arsenal player. I agree. Right out of the Arsene Wenger playbook, he is. Here to There says Trossard is of the level that he wouldn't look out of place at Manchester City. Could we say the same about number 14? Ivy says Trossard is so intelligent. So glad we have him in our team. I agree. And so here's the thing too, is like I saw somebody said that like that Eddie is like this young player. Eddie is 24. He's 24. Like, he's not really a young player. Now, that's still young in striker years, but I do think people still speak about Eddie as if he's not, like, about to be in his prime. Like, do you see what I'm saying? And so Eddie is kind of who he's going to be, I think, for the most part, unless something like dramatic happens. Trossard is much older and more experienced, but in a young side that has Martinelli and Saka, you need some experience. You need somebody that's like a sure thing. So for multiple reasons, not even stylistically, but I think from experience standpoint, Trossard just fits better. And he had one bad game, really bad, poor game against Fulham for the first half, and was hooked so harshly by Mikel Arteta. And I thought, when is the next time we're going to see Trossard? When is it? It's going to be a while from now, isn't it? And he's worked his way back into form, and Arteta needs to keep on to that. Do not let it go. Philip says Trossard could play wing for Arsenal as we had overlapping fullbacks, needs to get central minutes for us. That's why we need a winger, not a striker, in my opinion. I love that. So yeah, I really love Trossard's performance, but I'm not surprised because he's just that good. Almost forgot about Rice. And I almost forgot about him because he just had his like normal good game. Like, what can you say about this guy? He's so good. He didn't have like anything spectacular that he did. Like, he almost scored a goal, but he's just a 7-8 every single game. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. He was just very solid today. Very, very solid today. Tawanda says 7 for Rice. Let's see what else you guys are. Also, you guys, there's 300 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Andrew says, Rice, Mr. Consistent. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but in a game against Burnley, like, what do you expect? Like, he's just going to get the job done. Blaze says Rice 7.5. John Donut says Rice 7.5. Here to There says 7.5. Declan, solid, looking more confident, making runs into the box also. Silver Surfer says Zinchenko, man of the match, yelling at me. I hear you. The Patriot Gunner says Rice, my captain, 7.5. Neil says 7 for Rice. Yeah. Virtus Revenge says, does the basics right? Something we've been massively missing. So love it. Love Declan Rice and his performance. And, it doesn't have to be anything special. It just has to be, like you said, the basics. Gabriel Martinelli, I have maybe an unpopular opinion here, but I don't think he had the best game. Now, I'll take into consideration the fact that they doubled up on both of our wingers. So I think the influence from Saka and Martinelli wasn't as right in your face as it was against Sevilla, because Sevilla didn't do that. So I'm taking that into consideration. But I thought his final ball was really poor today. I thought on the ball, once he got into the final third, I thought Martinelli was poor. Really needs to work on his final ball, but his movement was good. He was getting into dangerous positions. He was causing Coutinho some havoc on that side. But I need the Martinelli of last season that makes the right decisions in the final third to come back. So far, he's been a little here and there and everywhere. But that being said, it wasn't like a poor. I thought there was elements of his game that were poor today, but overall, it wasn't a bad performance. So I'm going to give Martinelli a 7. Joshua says Martinelli 7. Aman says Rice 7, but shouldn't be playing as an 8 in these types of games. I agree with that. MD Agency says that's why we will win the Champions League. Andrew says Martinelli 6.5. His crossing was not that good. Kind of what we saw against Sevilla. You know, I asked like whether or not it was we weren't getting on the end of the crosses or Martinelli was not, his final ball wasn't great. And I think his final ball wasn't great. Now he did put a really good ball into Saka in the first half behind the defense of Burnley, and Saka like bumbled over it, and I was like, just hit it. So there's times where Martinelli does the right thing and he doesn't get the assist that he probably should get, and then there are times where I'm like, yeah, man, who are you crossing it to? It's like somebody on Pluto. Like, come on now. Samuel says, I don't think he had a bad game. I thought nobody was there to link up when he got an 8. The thing is also in the second half, we saw a lot more of Trossard, Zinchenko, and Martinelli. We saw a lot more of that in the second half than we saw in the first half. I thought that worked a lot better. So he was getting into better positions. But again, the final ball needs to be a lot better. Martin N says Gabby 7. Here to there says 7 for Gabby. Aman says Nelly 6.5. Nothing to write home about, not terrible or anything like that, but definitely wasn't as influential as he was against Sevilla. But you can definitely understand that because of the way that Burnley played against him. Saka, for me, it was similar, where Burnley had decided, you know what, we're going to mark Saka and Martinelli with 3-4 players. So I thought he found it difficult to get free in those situations. And, you know, he had a couple of really good chances. He had the one where Trafford just put it right over the top of the net. That's going in the back of the goal. He had one where he headed it and Trafford made a mistake, and then they called a foul because of 2 hands in the back or a push up in the back. Didn't think that, you know, those were fouls, but there you go. He had the one chance where I thought he should have did better. The Martinelli slip ball in behind, just get a shot off. But he gets the assist for Trossard's goal, which is great. Like Saka always gets his, no matter how he plays. Like, it's so crazy. But we're still not seeing the best out of Saka right now, but he really needs a rest. Like, Southgate better not F this up. He really needs to rest Saka. Like, there's no reason to play him during this international break, really. And we just have to figure out a way to cope with the fact that our wingers are being marked with 2 or 3 players. They've decided that we have no threat centrally. Think about that. Teams like Sheffield, Burnley, everybody have decided, you know what? Arsenal don't have any threat centrally, so we're going to leave those players kind of just like there, and we're going to put all of our emphasis on the wings, on these guys. Like, the players that are central, our creative players, our 8s, have got to be more influential. The more influential they are, the less they'll be able to just mark out our wingers, and the better that will be. So Saka, for me, he gets a little half point here. For if he didn't get the assist, I would have given him a 7 like Martinelli, but a little half one because he got the assist. Andrew says Saka 6.5. He needs a rest. Tawanda says Saka needs rest. I agree. Aman says love Saka doing what Mo Salah does. Even if he has a 4 games, he would get the GA. I love it. Tawanda says Trafford is going to be a great goalkeeper one day. Yeah, he is. He's a good young goalkeeper. Samful says, I keep saying Saka has become predictable, 6.5, and the 0.5 for the assist for Trossard. The Patriot Gunner says Saka, okay, 5. Dostra says 6 for Saka. Samful says true, Trafford was good. IP says Saka barely saw the ball on the right-hand wing in the second half. We were going through the left more often. Saka 7. And so, yeah, I think he kind of needs a rest, and he needs to get his burst back. I think we've lost a little bit of his ability to, like, Saka's thing is like, he's not like a Doku. Like, he's not going to dance around you. His way of getting beyond you is with his burst of pace and then like seeing you off and getting beyond you. His burst isn't quite there. And I think that's because he's still dealing with some injury issues. So, and for people that are saying that he's predictable, yeah, I think Saka is pretty predictable. But the thing is that when Saka's at his best, even what he does consistently that you know he's going to do, you can't stop it. And that's his physical strength, his burst, his ability to get beyond you and hold off challenges is the way that he is able to do those predictable things, but still score goals and get assists. So until he gets that fitness back up, I don't think you're going to see the best out of Saka. We're not overlapping as much anymore. I don't know what's going on with that. Like a right back's not overlapping. And so there's a little bit of something on the right-hand side too, but it is what it is. Lionide says, we showed Spurs how to win with 9 men on the pitch. Joshua says Saka 7, quiet game, but Saka is always Saka and he finds a way, star boy. I agree. So we had some subs come in. Kivior, I don't think he played enough. We don't really have to talk about that too much. I think we do have to talk a little bit about Vieira. Eddie didn't do much either, so we won't really talk too much about him. Reece Nelson didn't do much either. But, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Vieira. Like, you got your opportunity. You came in with 30 minutes left in the game, and you're just starting to get going, and then it is a red card. It is a straight red. It's not violent conduct, but it is a straight red. And this is just the thing. It's like there is nobody else in those 8 positions that we feel comfortable to come in if Odegaard is not there. Vieira, he gets a chance because Havertz he got hooked. So I don't think Arteta was happy with his performance. So if Vieira puts in a good 30 minutes there, potentially he starts on the left in our next game. But now he's suspended, So Havertz will likely come back in or will continue with this Rice at the 8 position, which I don't think always works or is the best thing for us. And then you have Emile Smith-Rowe, who's not there. It's a straight red. It's a nightmare cameo for Vieira. Unlucky in some ways, but still, like, it is what it is. But Arsenal need to figure this shit out. We have 3 attacking mid options beyond Odegaard, and none of them can really deputize for Odegaard in a consistent way. So, I could do like an NA, that like little NA, like not applicable, because that's just a nightmare cameo for him. It really is. And it's an opportunity when Havertz has not played well and he's been hooked in the 60th minute. Havertz usually plays 90 minutes. So I don't think Arteta was happy with his performance. So you get the opportunity, then straight red. That is just, can't get over it, man. Nobody has really stepped up. And I'll give you a hot take here, is I think if Emile Smith-Rowe had stayed fit, he would have been the one to step up. But that is his main issue. Emile Smith-Rowe's issue is not anything other than keeping his fitness. That is it. He has looked, out of everybody, I think, the most promising in that other 8 role to me. And that's the truth. And I think Vieira has done well coming off the bench, but from the start against Brentford, also against Sheffield, I'm so disappointed that ESR has not gotten a chance to keep that up, because he just seemed like the most likely, but it's his fitness. It's just not there. I hate it. I hate that we don't have anybody. Aman says that was 100% a red, but my issue is that the same ref didn't send Kovacic off. It wasn't a big game. It wasn't going to go in favor of Arsenal. And Michael Oliver was chosen for this game on purpose because Arteta had complained about the ref. So they said, we're going to give you our best ref, so you know that you're getting the best refereeing possible. But Michael Oliver calling the foul for the situation with Saka and giving that straight red is just exactly what the Premier League wanted. You wanted good refereeing, we're going to give it to you. But he didn't send off Kovacic just because it was Manchester City and that would have given us an advantage early on in the game. This whole, we don't want to skew the spectacle thing, that's very new. It's very new. Like, it is a new thing. It's news to me, because anytime an Arsenal player would do something in the first couple of minutes of a game against a big side before, they would send him off. I mean, David Luiz got sent off against Man City. Xhaka got sent off against Man City in the first half. It's happened to us so many times. So that is a new thing. that they've made up on the spot, because the 2 calls that we've spoken about would have given Arsenal an advantage against a big team. And fuck them, so that's why we got Michael Oliver. He should be refereeing the game against for Man City and Chelsea, but he's doing Arsenal Burnley. Why do you think that is? They're making up the rules on the fly. They're making them up as they go, depending on who's playing, depending on whatever. But it is a straight red card for Vieira. And so the next time that somebody kicks one of our players like that, I don't want to hear anything about intention. I don't want to hear anything about their personality and whether they would ever have that malice. I don't want to hear shit. I want them off the pitch. But Vieira definitely deserved a red. My whole thing is like, just because I don't want people to get away with red card challenges. I want everybody to get a red card for the red card challenges, no matter who it is, even if it's Arsenal. I don't want anybody getting away with anything, because they shouldn't. And I don't think the timing of the game matters. Like, I think against Chelsea, Romero should have been sent off for the kick out. Udogie should have been sent off for the 2-footed challenge, but they got to continue to play. It doesn't make sense. If you get a red card, whether it's in the first minute or 90th minute, red card challenge, you're off. Like, that's always how it's been. See, Wilder says it's daft because I wouldn't have been the ref killing the game. It would have been Kovacic. Mikey says Vieira was abused several times before he gave the red. Oliver was shit. We know why we got him. We know why we got him. It was so, when they said we were getting Michael Oliver for Arsenal versus Burnley, I knew something was going to happen. We were going to get a red card. They were going to get a penalty, something. Nino said, get the feeling today was the day he was done with Havertz. We'll see. Usually, like I said, he plays 90 minutes. So I don't think that says good things for him, but who knows? Blaze says Vieira was poor today. Miasar get a chance but injured. Same thing with Vieira. Was good opportunity for him to impress Arteta. He needs to step up. Nobody's really stepping up. And, that's the thing. It's like, I can advocate for you getting more playing time and think that you're a really good player. But ultimately, if you don't step up when it matters, then, you guys know I'm a huge Vieira fan. I love him. I think he's a very talented player, and I think he needs more playing time. But when you get it, you do have to do something better than what you did with it today. And so that was a huge letdown, and I'm feeling very uninspired by the options that we have when Odegaard is not here. That being said, everybody who wanted Odegaard out the team, and we're talking about him like a dog, is begging for him back now. So you never know what you have until it's gone. You never know. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the game, you guys. I think Oliver was Oliver. We know why we got him, fuck it, but we went right into his hands. I thought from a defensive standpoint, we were really good, except for the goal. I thought Raya made a really good couple of saves. He is good in possession. And ultimately, Arsenal just did what they needed to do. And that's all that freaking matters. So DJ Harry is going to be on the show, the Monday post-match show for this game on Patreon. So make sure, if you guys want to try Patreon for free, you guys can for 7 days. And you guys can just go to patreon.com/SheKnowsArsenal or go to the link in the description. And on Monday, I'll also be making a special announcement. So make sure you guys are tuned in to the 10 o'clock show, the 10 a.m. show. That's when the announcement will be made. So make sure you guys tune into that. Have your notifications on. If you're new, subscribe. There's 250 of you guys in here, which is amazing. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will definitely see you guys on the next one. I'm going to try to get as many people on here as I possibly can. Shout out for the international break, because I'm going to be struggling to find something to talk about. But love you guys. You guys are amazing. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.